The Equalizer, 2014 film from director Antoine Fuqua, starring Denzel Washington, the first part of what will very soon become a trilogy of films. It's an action thriller where Denzel plays Robert, a quiet, unassuming man living a peaceful life in Boston, working at a hardware store and being helpful to a number of people in his community on a daily basis. One day he finds out that a young prostitute he knows from his neighborhood has been severely beaten and was put in a hospital by her Russian pimps, and Robert decides to step in. Turns out he has a mysteriously violent past and clearly has at one point been a trained killer, and he now puts those skills to use and he stands up to the mob guys quite successfully. But then that attracts the attention of the mob boss, who sends a psychopathic fixer after Robert. So I quite like this film. I think it's a competent action thriller, action movie, and on top of that, it's interesting thematically with the way it uses the two main characters to explore the ideas of identity and roles, and the question of whether or not it's possible to change who you are, to change your nature, to step outside of your role. One of the key conflicts in the film is explained very early on in a conversation scene about Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea, where Robert gets asked if the character catches the fish eventually, and he says that yes, but it costs him almost everything, and then in the end the fish is even eaten by the sharks. And the girl who's conversing with him asks, why doesn't he just release the fish? And Robert says, well, because he's the old man and the fish is the fish. This is who they are. This is what the fate has chosen for them, as it were. And that, of course, is then explored with both the protagonist and the antagonist. And their game of cat and mouse, in consequence, reminded me a little bit of Heat and the interplay between De Niro and Pacino in that film. I like Denzel in the role. I think he's very convincing. I think so was Martin Sokas as Teddy. Again, I think the action is creative and well constructed. And honestly, the movie was on its way to being great, in my opinion. But towards the end, it gets a little bit too over the top, whereas the first half is relatively grounded. And this, I think, just takes it down a notch overall, the fact that it becomes ever so slightly cheesy. But even with that, it's still a solid film.